One of the most fascinating things for men is how they evolve. You see, men are always looking for the most creative ways to elicit some action from their partners. But many people believe that once women have passed a certain age, this doesn't work anymore. Well, stick around and you'll be surprised. In this video, we'll use the power of psychology to explore some of the fascinating secrets of older women and why you should not simply think that they don't desire anything fun or special. Whether you're a mature man looking to satisfy your woman, or perhaps just someone who's into older women, this video's for you. Perhaps you're just curious to see how the minds and psychology of older women work. The misconception about older women. One of the biggest misconceptions is the fact that women are seemingly no longer interested in intercourse or having some fun with their partners. This is precisely what men are led to believe, and over time they turn to other distractions to fill this need. But this is not the reason women refrain from these activities as they age. The main reason is that men simply don't do it for them anymore, and some men are unwilling to make the effort to actually turn her on. These men believe that she should be lucky he chooses to sleep with her. But this doesn't take into account the desires of the woman, something that you will quickly learn is far more important than anything else. You see, the desire for fun and pleasure is still very high in older women. The only real issue is that men are not willing to put in the effort. This logic makes it even more important for you to watch this video until the end, and even if you're younger, these skills and tricks will serve you well as you age and start dating slightly older women. So, buckle up as we explore the fascinating realm of older women, and look at some of the ingenious tricks that many men have learned to use if they want to satisfy their more mature partner. Keep in mind that many of these tips will require some effort and do not directly lead to intimacy. In fact, you'll have to be somewhat mature by yourself as well. Let's dive in. Number 1. Mental stimulation. Let's get the obvious one out of the way first. But mental stimulation is an important part of turning any woman on. This is not only for younger women, but also directly applies to some of the more mature women around. As we grow older, we are constantly seeking more and more knowledge. And this can be seen by how many older people turn to various beliefs and philosophies to help them endure the tough world and improve. You see, regardless of her age, she's still seeking someone who is mentally empowered and who can think for himself to ensure that things are going in the best possible direction. This is something that men rarely understand. What tends to happen is that the man and the woman don't have anything fun or interesting to talk about, and this often means that the communication between the two stops. Once communication dies down, you can literally live in the same household as someone, and you will completely be living past one another, aside from the occasional chit-chat. This generally happens due to a lack of mental stimulation, and men are not willing to adapt their ways to make a woman also feel comfortable or at ease. By continuing to be interesting, you will keep her curiosity at a decent level, which should ensure that the two of you can continue communicating, which often serves as a prelude to turning her on. Number 2. Communication. Now that mental stimulation is in the back of your mind, it's also important to talk about communication between two partners. The following advice can be applied not only in older relationships, but is a common thing needed for any relationship to remain somewhat sustainable as well. You see, the main problem is that two people in their older age don't seem to care about the opinions of the other person, and this is due to the fact that they've molded into one person. If you live with someone long enough, it's natural for the two of you to adopt the beliefs of the other, which creates a lot of fluidity. However great it might be that everything is progressing smoothly, the word boredom immediately comes to mind. And this is one thing that will often cause a relationship to break apart and remove the intimacy between the two. Whether you like it or not, having a little bit of friction, which often causes some tension, is great for a relationship and might even raise the attraction levels significantly between two people. So, this means you need to be open to communicating frequently. This is very important when engaging older women, as they've seen all the tricks in the book and are desiring some authentic connections. In most cases, these women also have children, which should give you another point of reference to start a conversation. If the following piece of advice is the only thing you take from this video, we'll be happy. But make sure to watch along, as these things get more and more intense. However, if you notice that you're running out of things to communicate about, you can quickly just shift the conversation to someone's children or family if you don't want to dive in too deep. Everyone loves talking about their family and their children. Granted, they have some good relational ties with these people, but this is something for you to suss out. Communication will keep the spark alive. Number 3. Kissing should be your superpower. One of the most important things that older women desire is having that emotional connection also feel apparent when they engage in any form of intimacy with a man. This can often be tough for younger men who have not yet mastered the techniques of the perfect kiss. but you will learn this over time. You see, the perfect kiss should not only convey attraction, but should also allow for some insight into your own emotional state and how you're going about perceiving these emotions. In fact, older women seek that powerful emotional connection before they're anywhere close to taking things a bit further, and this is something that you'll learn. The idea of the kiss is to firmly establish your desires and not overwhelm her, but rather focus on teasing her. Since you might be younger watching this video, you have the advantage, and you can use some of those techniques you've been experimenting with to make her feel like you know what you're doing. If by any chance you manage to combine feelings of tension and make things fun at the same time, you'll have her hooked. In fact, such an experience might be something she hasn't had in quite a while, which makes the desire to have it even more. This means that you might need to spend a little more time kissing her than you anticipated, but in the end, it will bear some significant fruit, and the two of you are bound to have an incredibly fun experience. Number 4, she needs to trust you to progress. Moving from a really fun tip to something a little more serious. Once you've obtained the kiss, you might be thinking that she's turned on and now she's ready to move on to the next phase. Well, this is not the case, and when it comes to women, they tend to work much slower than men, and this could often be daunting and frustrating. But if you thought that detecting cheats and deception is something younger women have mastered, you should try your luck with some of the older and wise ladies around. What you'll find is that most of them will immediately detect if you're not serious, and this means that they'll back off and use their knowledge to make the best decision. This means that if you want things to progress and completely satisfy her in a way that she hasn't been satisfied in possibly decades, you'll need to make her feel comfortable and like she can trust you. Ideally, you don't want to use manipulation for this, and try to keep it on the upside to ensure that no one gets hurt. Bear in mind that you'll come across some women who simply don't care and don't have any issue just engaging in such activities. But even from your side, you'll feel that it doesn't truly match up to the real thing. So make sure to establish decent levels of trust and respect between you and the older woman for the best success. Number 5, learn to take things slow. If you thought having a woman tell you they want to take things slow is frustrating, wait until you try to seduce an older woman. Once again, all this comes down to their experience and their ability to sniff out anything that doesn't seem in place. What you'll find is that older women prefer taking things slow to see where the relationship is going, and they want to create a genuine bond to ensure that the passion experienced when they engage in such activities is worth it. Unfortunately, this means that many men need to focus on the one thing they don't like, which is often patience. However, if you manage to make yourself focus on patience and you see an improvement in your life, you'll also gain so much more value in different areas of your own personal adventure. Taking things slow with an older woman is mostly worth it, as when they finally feel that genuine close connection to you, these women might just completely offer themselves to you. And once you experience such kinds of intimacy, you won't want anything else. This works whether you're a somewhat more senior individual or if you're one of the younger cats who desires an older woman. Number 6, improve your foreplay skills. Foreplay and the previous step of taking things slow or showing some patience is very important. You see, foreplay is directly tied to what turns a woman on, but the downside is that most men simply want to go in for the big score without any care in the world when it comes to the satisfaction of their partners. But older women can take a while to get started, and you can often liken this to something that just needs some patience to start. However, your major tool to speed up the process is that of using foreplay to make things a little more fun. Now, older women will certainly enjoy the foreplay, and if they haven't been fortunate enough to get any in some time, the foreplay might even be enough to fully satisfy them and to have them allow you to move on to having some satisfaction of your own. The most important lesson you should learn from this is that patience is very important when it comes to women, and you'll have to use your very best skills to ensure you can actually make her reach a point where she wants you. Number 7, lubrication is a benefit. Whilst not all women struggle to lubricate themselves, you'll notice that once a woman has exited the menopausal phase, she might have some troubles with lubrication. This should not be any deterrent, as nowadays you can buy a variety of lubricants from almost any store. In fact, you should not be ashamed of using lubricants, as you'll also find out that they simply increase the comfort level of the woman and make sure that she actually feels the same pleasure that you're aiming to deliver. Various lubricant options are available, but a water-based or even silicone-based option is great for most women and should get the job done. However, before you buy something like this, we would actually advise you to find out about allergens. You see, some women are extremely sensitive to some products in these lubricants, and it might cause some discomfort. As you can see, this process is also something that takes a lot of time. But once you've broken through this barrier, you'll be able to enjoy intimacy on a much higher frequency than you might have ever been used to. We would encourage you to allow the conversation to enter this phase and to discuss the phenomenon of lubricant and whether she'd be happy if you were choosing to use something like this. Keep in mind that it heavily depends on what she feels comfortable with as well. Number 8. Don't be afraid to engage. If you've ever been in a relationship or marriage for a couple of years, this is probably not one of the fears you have. However, if you're just meeting an older woman, you might be somewhat intimidated. And this can often cause some confusion, and many men are also unwilling to actually make the move. However, women of age are still small princesses inside their hearts, and they still want to feel like a woman if a man desires them. The best way to do this is to actually engage with them, and this can be through various means. One of the most powerful ways would often be flirting, and we would heavily encourage you to flirt with older women. Not only is this something they might not have experienced in some time, but is also what they truly desire. In fact, you'll find that they blush and often don't have any words to respond. What this means is that before you even try to get her in bed and make her feel special behind closed doors, you need to figure out how you can make her feel special by simply being yourself when you don't have access to a bedroom. Another piece of advice would be to learn how to read people a little bit better, and since older women have mastered the art of the poker face, you might not know when to make the move. Some men often just jump at it, and more often than not, they succeed. In essence, if something with a woman does feel right, you should pounce on it, and you'll be pleasantly surprised. But let's move on to the last couple of tips, and you might be shocked by what you're about to see before we end this video. Number 9. Experiment in bed. Believe it or not, even older women still want to have some fun and experiment in bed. Yes, many of these women didn't have the courage or the right partner when they were younger, and this often meant that the relationship didn't have the same level of fun as it could have now. You see, older women, especially those who are older than 65, grew up in a far more conservative generation. Back in those days, experimenting and doing certain things were considered a sin. Fortunately, times have changed, and now many of these older women crave to try out these things. So, we would encourage you to experiment with new techniques in different positions. You might find that she truly likes this, and since it's new, it's something that you can use to ultimately satisfy a woman. So, don't be afraid to be yourself and to push through some of the mental limitations to finally end up satisfying your partner. Number 10. Stamina is important. Now, you might think that older women don't have the stamina. Well, think again. One of the most important desires for satisfaction from older women is to have a partner with good enough stamina for her to actually feel fully engaged and to tire her out. If you're in good shape, now would be the time to allow all this hard work and some of the stamina to come into the forefront. You will definitely have some great fun. Simply because she's old doesn't mean anything, and it should never discourage you from having some fun and experimenting. Older women can be quite pleasant, and you'll have a great experience doing so. In fact, you can check out our next video on how older men turn on younger girls to see just how simple this can be.